We are also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of Lee's music. Chris Foulds, Marty Hastings, Magic Mike, and Bonnie at the controls. It's been a hectic day. Quite frankly, a shit show. I don't normally point fingers. I never do. But Mike Miltimore. Magic Mike Miltimore. He's triple booked. Business is just so good for Magic Mike, and he thinks he can be everywhere.
It's booming, and I'm just trying to clone myself, and I've been working on that technology for many years, but hopefully it's coming.
He needs help, so if you have a resume, drop it off.
He's done a good job making it work for us today. Great show today. Chris, any thoughts to lead us off today? Any anecdotes?
It's a 42nd show on April 20th. 42, Jackie Robinson, the first baseball player to break the color barrier. And April 20th, it's April 20th today, so it's also Hitler's birthday. He was born in 1889. It's also another horrible day. It's Columbine, anniversary of the Columbine school shooting.
Was Hitler's birthday?
Yes, and it's also my dog's birthday. She's 2 years old today, and maybe in post-edit we can throw up a picture of her.
There's way too many Hitler tie-ins with you every week.
I'm just saying, it's his birthday.
Kind of
1889, he was born this day, and it's also 420, which is the day before it was legalized, where people gathered to smoke dope.
Episode 42 on 420 is kind of weird. Any thoughts on that, Mike? You're a musician.
I think it makes me want to write a hit song and play guitar and quit this job and tour.
There you go.
I've already grown my hair out, so that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
If you're wondering what happens when my mind's empty, that's exactly what spews out.
All right, we have a great show today. Shaun, Clouston, Luke Toporowski from the Kamloops Blazers. They join us for our first ever four-person interview. Doctor shortage in BC.
Yes, there's been a family doctor shortage specifically for many years, and there is now a concerted effort. There's an online petition. There's a group called In Town, capital STPS Steps, and there's a petition online to try to get the government to do whatever it can to increase the number of family physicians, because I think it's 900,000 British Columbians now without a doctor, and a lot of people are getting together to try to find a way to fix this, which I think is an unfixable problem, but they're trying to fix it.
Okay, I'm one of those 900,000 without a doctor. We'll talk more about that later. We also have from the Kamloops Rugby Club Raiders, Erin, Connolly, Reed, Jensen, also known as Casper. She'll join us. We'll talk to her about their big match on Saturday, playoff match at Exhibition Park. McDonald's. Mike, can we hear your wonderful tones?
Bum, 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 bum.
And it could be for the last time. It could be. I hope not, but this is the 10th episode. Their contract runs out after today, so I'm trying to strike up a supersized deal with them to continue on. But Chris, any final thoughts on how great it's been to have this coffee that we drink exclusively? Thank you. Best coffee in the world, by far. Thanks.
Have a great day.
You too.
The best coffee in town, in my opinion, from the fast food places, and it's good that Brandy sponsored our show. It's nice that we're supporting local, she's supporting local.
We've had so much fun. I've been going through the drive-through and filming some of the employees. They're almost always wonderful and the way they greet you. So we've had a great time with McDonald's. And I'll tell you who's not going anywhere, though. New Leaf Produce Market. Big sale starts tomorrow, Thursday. The cauliflower is going on special. I think almost all of this stuff. The peppers are for sure. And these puppies right here, the field cucumbers, they're going on sale too. So
that's actually zucchini. This is a field cucumber.
Okay, that's got a bit of a hook to it there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check out this commercial right now for New Leaf Produce Market.
How'd it feel in your hand, Marty?
It was good, firm. Beautiful Wednesday morning at the New Leaf Produce Market. I'm here with my buddy Hermels. He's got a big smile on his face because he asked me, Marty, do you know anything about charcuterie boards? And I said, Hermels, you should know me better than this. I'm from White Rock. I'm a blue-blooded White Rocky and the Silver Spoon. I know charcuterie boards better than everyone, which means I know that New Leaf Produce Market is where you want to go. And you might say, Marty, why? Well, how about this? Whether it's your local cheeses from the Dutchman Dairy just from around the corner in Sycamoose, or maybe you're looking for the finest French and Italian sausage, cheese, and olives. Everyone's hard at work, you can see that. Then you've got the chop and block section. Italian sausage, chorizo, red hot jack, maple bacon cheddar, jalapeno cheddar. And then maybe you'd like to go international and get some English sausage. Anything you want for your spring and summer charcuterie boards, come on down to New Leaf Produce Market. All right, I don't even know where to start. with this one here, but last night I had to send that picture to myself, and the subject line as I was typing, I couldn't believe I was typing it, was Foulds' colon. So that right there.
That right there is my colon. I had a colonoscopy 11 months ago, and came out beautifully, clean as hell. And I thought, well, why not show a picture of it? Because there's stigma around, colonoscopies and all that kind of stuff. But everybody's got one. Probably most aren't as pretty as mine. It's clean, it's smooth, it's pink. They found maybe 1 or 2 little polyps, and they said you're good to go for at least 5 or 6 more years. But I wanted to point that out because we're talking about doctor shortages and stuff like that. But there's also other procedures that are being hit with the delays and the surgeries with the pandemic. But mine went smoothly, and the drugs they give you when you're like on a cloud.
I was going to say, because I picked you up, and it was almost like that day could have been 420, because you were...
Well, they say you can't drive home because they don't knock you out completely. At least they didn't me. So I was awake, but you're in this middle, this beautiful, it's a really ethereal thing. And you go on your side and they do their thing. And I asked if I could watch it. They said, yeah. So they have a TV there and you're watching this thing go through. And then, halfway through you're so drugged up that you don't really remember much, but I do remember asking if I can get a photo, and she said that she'd never heard that before. So the doctor, when I woke up, there was a picture on the clipboard.
And you were like waving it around when I picked you up.
Well,
you were stumbling around like it was a night at the Highwayman.
Well, it's good to have records of your medical procedures
and play it for all the Kamloops to see.
Well, everyone's got one, like I say, and there it is, and it's beautiful.
Okay, but there's a reason for it. You want to talk about a program that you'd like to see continue?
Oh, that's for the family
segment?
Doctors. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, Mike, do you have any, or Bonnie, any kind of interesting hospital or medical stories?
Is that a toy car up in the top end of that picture?
Richard Gere, your Richard Gere moment?
Nope.
Okay, let's just move on to the next segment then. Unless, Bonnie, you got something to add? Nope. Okay, let's go. It's Above the Folds.
They're trying to petition the government to do more to get doctors. Adrian Dix, the health minister, said they're working on it, but it's just a matter of there's not enough doctors who want to go into family practice. So the method and how family practices are run, how the compensation work, probably has to be changed to entice doctors to come here to make it a little less stressful for them, because they're not only looking at you and checking out your hives and all that kind of stuff. They have to rent the building, they have to pay their receptionists, they have to pay the nurses, they have to pay the staff, everything they have to do on their own, and they get, I think it's $30-something bucks for every patient visit, which is a 15-minute visit. So it's not a lot of money overall if you think about the hours in the day and all the costs that come with running a practice.
And I think the size of Kamloops doesn't help us, because we're not exactly a small town, and some of the small towns get grants or access to physicians. I read it in Wallace's story, something like that.
Yeah, we're in that sort of Goldilocks, which is a bad thing, because we don't get the extra help and grants and programs that would be afforded something like Chase or a smaller town. But then again, we're not in the large centers where there's more pool to draw from, more people to come to Vancouver, more people to go to Edmonton. So we're in that kind of weird middle ground where it's not big enough that we have enough doctors, not small enough that we get the extra help.
And how bush league? We don't even have a walk-in clinic. We have no walk-in clinic in this town, basically.
And the last one that closed was the one behind Superstore, and it was too much work, too much time, too much money to run it for those doctors. The doctors running there, they were started by a bunch of ER doctors at Royal Inland Hospital to try to alleviate the pressures. Now we're down to the only thing we have is the urgent care center, which is next to the ER and RIH, but that's not really a walk-in. You have to, I think, still make an appointment.
Yeah.
And it's for certain.
The walk-in is such it keeps me from going to get things checked out that I probably should. Just the whole hassle. We don't have one right now. Even when they were here, you
got to go to the ER.
So that's why I like a family doctor, but then I got to wait 5 years to get one of those.
And here's the thing on that was I came here and I had a doctor in 2005, got a doctor, and then he retired. I got another doctor who replaced him. It was actually Dr. Kruger from South Africa. Then he left 2 years later, and he was replaced by another Kruger, interestingly enough.
Kruger Park is, do you know what Kruger Park is?
No, what's that?
It's a big wildlife reserve in South Africa.
South Africa.
I've been there,
That's
you
right.
haven't.
Kruger, no, I have not been there, no. That's when So the last time my doctor left, the two doctors left. They both left from this one building. So one doctor came in, so they couldn't take all the patients. So they had to. You're in a lottery, basically. I didn't make the cut because I think if you don't go to a doctor, and I never had to go, they're not going to pick you because they're not getting paid, because you're per per visit payment. So I'm out of a doctor. But what happened was, I think it was when Terry Lake was health minister, I think in 2013, 2014, the Liberal government created something called a team-based medicine practice. And there's one on the North Shore. It's right by the Manchetti pharmacy building. And I think it's called North Shore Primary Care. So I got on there, I called 811, the doctor waiting list. And after about a year and a half, I got a call saying, hey, we can't find your family doctor, but you can be a patient at this clinic. It's not a walk-in clinic, it's a team-based clinic, and it's fantastic. So I have a nurse practitioner, which is basically almost like a doctor. They can do almost everything a doctor can. And you go see them, and they sit there for the first time for 35, 40 minutes just asking all sorts of questions. And they get to know you. And then after that, if you need to be referred to a physician, they'll refer you to a physician. If you need some mental health. So they have a team, mental health, dietitian, physician. And it's fantastic. And if they could set up more of these government run, so the staff, they don't have to worry about paying the bills and doing all this. They can just focus on treatment. If they have more of these team-based things where people come and rotate in and out, but you have a primary contact, which is a nurse practitioner or a doctor, it works very well. It's a lot more time, a lot more personal, and I think it's fantastic.
Magic Mike, you, I believe your significant other has just gone through some medical issues. Any thoughts on the medical system and how it's treated you guys?
Well, we had an amazing experience. Monica, her heart started racing with this thing called SVT, where her heart would go up to 250 beats per minute. It was very scary, and we'd have to go to the ER to get her heart stopped. Well, we were able to capture it at the ER, and within a year, she had heart surgery. And it's back under control now, knock on wood. But yeah, so within basically a year, she went from diagnosis to treatment, which is, I'm not sure how that happened, but apparently it worked out very well for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good news. You had to go to Kelowna for some things, didn't you, at some point?
Me?
No, well, you probably have to.
I had a wart.
Okay, let's move on to talking about the weather. And check out Michael Potestio in this segment. He's got a new light in the dungeon, which was needed for a long, long time. And he's got a lot more confidence today in the last week, Cleek.
You noticed it feeling a little bit colder this month in April? Well, that's because it is. I caught up with a Environment Canada meteorologist who let me know that it's been about 5 degrees colder on average in Kamloops this month. In fact, we also broke 2 single-day record lows just last week. Now, what does that all mean, despite it just being a little bit chillier than usual? Well, it's actually raising a little bit of concern over the flood risk in BC, because what these colder temperatures this month are doing is actually keeping the snowpack frozen for longer. And what Environment Canada would rather see is a few more warmer days to kind of melt off a little bit of the snowpack. Obviously, you don't want to see too much heat too quickly, because that would send mass amounts of water down the hills and cause that flooding that we want to try and avoid in the province. But a little bit more sun, a little bit more heat that could melt it off gradually is what they'd like to see ideally. So they're monitoring that situation. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys for now. Let's take it back to the studio with Marty and Chris.
We were going to talk about the cool weather, but today it's beautiful and sunny.
It's been beautiful and sunny, but it's still damn cold. I mean, even on the weekend, it got up to 18 allegedly, but the wind made it feel like 0. And I was still walking around, as were others, with toques, even in the sunshine, because it's a very cold spring.
I've kind of learned my lesson about bashing weather talk, because prior to our big heat wave bubble, if people ever want to go back and watch the episode, I was like, I hate talking about the weather. It's no big deal. Yeah. Hadn't done my homework on how serious that could be, and obviously we know what happened. Yep. But this one isn't quite as serious.
No, right? This isn't serious in a heat dome or even a deep freeze that we had.
Snowbanks might melt a little bit.
Well, no, this is just annoying. It's more than anything because it's so cold. It is cold. I was out barbecuing yesterday at 6 o'clock, and I could see my breath. It was like allegedly 7 or 8 degrees, but it was colder than that. The wind is biting.
That's whoa, that's violin stuff there.
It's cold. It's first world problem.
I was up in Bachelor at my elite house barbecuing with my beautiful view, and
it was cold. and this past weekend on the 16th of April, we set a record. Minus 5.5 was the coldest April 16th since records began in 1890.
Yeah.
So it is a very cold spring, which is kind of good in that. It's good. It might be good for the wildfire season, but we need a little more moisture.
And maybe it does tie into just everything's wonky. Everything's so wonky with the seasons and the temperatures and the extremes and everything.
Could be climate change.
I don't want to make light of it again because last time I got burned.
Yeah, literally.
Speaking of burning, the Blazers are red hot right now, and we have 2 mugs and 2 playoff tickets to this Friday's game to give away. It's the first game of the playoffs against the Spokane Chiefs. I'll figure out how to do that later, but for now, let's talk to some of the main players in our next segment, which is the Tattle of Hastings. Shaun, let's start with something that I'm sure nobody wants to really hear about, but you own an apartment in the same building as me, and we just had a big special resolution passed. So what are your thoughts on tearing those brown shingles down?
I think it's great. I think it's going to go from one of the ugliest buildings in town to a pretty sharp looking building.
I agree, and no more woodpeckers. That's my big thing. Okay, let's talk about hockey. Luke, just your thoughts right now on how excited you are for the playoffs and the potential this team has.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough being out for those 6 weeks, but I pushed my rehab, and I'm just so happy to be back. We have our full lineup back for the most part, so I think the sky's our potential, and I think we can do a lot of damage in the playoffs. We just have to play our game.
Yeah, Shaun, sometimes you go into the playoffs with a team that really deep down is probably not going to win the whole thing, but this is not one of those years. You got a team that could potentially win it all. So what's it like, especially after not having playoffs for so long, coming into it with so much expectations?
I think it's double-edged a little bit. I think, we've got a team in front of us in Spokane that's playing some pretty darn good hockey and is going to try to put a damper on that for sure. I think it's great that we're mostly healthy right now. I think that's really important. I think one of the strengths of our team is our depth. That we don't just rely. We've got some real talented players, but we get contributions from a lot of different guys most nights, and I think that's important heading into the playoffs.
Chris?
The last time Kamloops and Spokane played in the playoffs was 2001. In fact, the final game, you were born 8 days after the final game, and you were coaching Tulsa against Oklahoma City in the first round of the Great Central Hockey League playoffs. Unfortunately, your team got swept, and the Chiefs swept the Blazers back then. So the question is, under this new weird 3-3-1 format, how do you keep the broom from that side of the border? Is there pros and cons to the weird format 3-3-1, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if it was regular, we'd just deal with it, and this is a little bit different. We'll deal with it. I mean, right now, all we're trying to do is have a good week, not get too far ahead of ourselves. We've got 2 more practice days. We've got 1 workout left with Cause. I think the guy's done a really good job just approaching each day, trying to keep it similar. I think that's, one thing that we're focusing on is, we don't need to change a whole lot. We'll be conscientious of, some trends and, things that Spokane has been doing lately that's allowed them to have some success. And but the vast majority of our preparation is on our team, and we'll just play as hard as we can and focus on the things that have made us successful throughout the year.
Shaun, part of the reason why you brought Luke here was to score. He's also a leader, but a little bit of truculence too, some truculence in his game. And how much do you value that, especially going into the postseason?
Yeah, big time. I think one thing that I sensed, I mean, I didn't know Topper at all, but what I sensed was that. There's a little bit of swagger, there's some energy, there's high compete, really engaged. A little bit of an interesting story. Topper can build on it if he wants to, but I remember the game that we played in there. This guy kept looking at me. He'd catch my attention, and I'm like, something's going on here. And it was right before the deadline. And
2 days.
Yeah, we played in Portland, and then we were driving home on the bus, and that's basically where the deal was completed. Was after the game versus Portland. But you know, we were in conversations leading up to that. He was a player that I'd always, you know, really liked, and I thought that energy, that compete, a little bit of playoff experience, you know, goal scoring ability was something that we really, you know, we really needed.
What was that look about? Do you remember what he's talking about?
Yeah. I mean, there was talks going on coming the deadline, and I mean, Kamloops was one of those teams that kept popping up, and right before the deadline we played them. I think we played them the 15th, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like playing a top team, like get me out of here. And so I was just like trying to get their attention as much as I could. And I made sure not to chirp any other guys or hit cheap shot any of their guys, because I knew it was a possibility that I was coming here, and it just happened to work out.
The first time we talked, you said, "Oh, I'm a bit of a rat." Like you didn't really want to say that you were a rat. I think you meant more like kind of like an agitator type player. Do you plan on ramping that side of your game up a little bit more in the playoffs, or do you just stay the course?
Yeah, I think I just have to play my game. But obviously, with playoff hockey, it's going to be tighter. It's going to be harder. So, I think I can try to lead the way for our team, and kind of get the guys following me. Maybe just extra hits, or trying to get under the Chiefs' skin as much as I can. So, yeah, but just mostly playing my game, not worrying about them too much. Like Chloe was saying, we just have to focus on us. And I mean, if we focus on us, nobody can beat us.
Mm-hmm. Chris, anything?
Just something off hockey topic. You grew up in Bettendorf, Iowa, is that right?
Yeah.
So that's the Quad Cities,
Yeah.
right? Davenport, Seth Rollins' hometown.
Okay.
Yeah. Hockey there, I know they had a semi-pro football team, basketball team. How big is hockey there for people who might not know the area?
Yeah, it's not very big at all. I mean, there's a minor league team. That's how I ended up there. My dad retired there. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up playing in Quad Cities, but when we kind of realized, like, oh, this might be something, I might be decent, we started having to travel to Chicago. So I did that for 6 years, every day of the week. So fortunate to have great parents and to do that drive every single day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's growing right now. My dad and my brother are a big part of hockey growing in the Quad Cities right now. Yeah. So they're doing their best, but hopefully we can keep going. So
good. Right on.
Back to hockey for a second. Shaun, last night I talked to Ryan Smith, your old coaching partner in Medicine Hat. You were the head guy and he was an assistant. I didn't get much from him. I asked him, you know, what did he learn about you that you might be able to use in this series? I'll ask you the same question. Is there anything that you can glean from your relationship with him that might help the Blazers this series?
Yeah, we talked a little bit, you know, off the air before we started this, and you know, so I'll just repeat that. I think that obviously he's really made a difference. You know, they were way out of the playoffs, you know, when he took over, and he's been able to sort of inject some energy into the group. I think they're having a lot more fun. They're playing a little bit higher tempo style of a game, which I think suits some of their players. They got a little bit more leeway to create some offense. You know, one thing that I really believe is that, you know, when you get into the playoffs, you know, a lot of times it's the team that wants to keep playing, the team that's enjoying coming to the rink and having fun each day. And I think he's made them much more dangerous by creating an environment where the players are really engaged and having some fun.
Your last one for me, for you, Shaun. What would it mean to you to win a league title?
It's been a while. I was able to do that as an assistant and then associate coach, but it's been lots of years. It's not easy to do, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, just how hard this is. I mean, there's a lot of pressure right now on our team. So I mean, we've got to take care of business one day at a time. So I mean, it would mean a ton. I think the guys have put a lot of work into their game, not only this year, but for 3 years. I mean, we deserved a chance 2 years ago. Had a real solid team, a team that I think was built for the playoffs. Yeah. Last year was just the hub, but even there we were a contender if there was playoffs in a regular season. And so it's been 3 years. For some of these guys waiting for this opportunity. I think they're excited, I think they're really excited now. The challenge is to kind of really focus that excitement and make sure that we're not trying to do too much. We're not changing too much. We're not using that energy in the wrong directions. I mean, there's really only so much you can do. You just got to play your game.
All right, last word goes to you, Luke. It's your last kick at the can here too, last season. Just thoughts on the opportunity ahead.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the thought process when I was in Spokane and realized we probably wouldn't be there in the playoffs. So I just wanted to go to a winning team, and that's why I wanted to come to Kamloops. And we have a great team, and I'm just super excited, super grateful to have this opportunity with these guys, with these coaches, and like we've been saying this whole time, we have a really good chance. So
awesome. All right, I know your family was asking where they can watch this show. Kamloops Last Week. It's on YouTube. You can subscribe. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. It's interesting to talk to them off camera and on camera.
Yeah.
Just like with anyone, I guess. But when you hear the coach Shaun Clouston, whether he talks to us or he's on talking to John Keane on NL, it's always so measured, monotone for a reason. It's deliberate. But when you talk to him off air, it's really interesting to see that there's more to the people, and a little more insight, a little more humor, a little more color. But I get what they have to do. It's a chess match, right?
My feeling on Shaun is he could do without the media. Like I don't think it's not like he hates the media necessarily or doesn't.
It's part of the
like
job
it,
he tolerates, probably.
He,
like a lot of coaches.
And to his credit, he is very measured, but he will answer the questions. Like, and I will sometimes call him after. I mean, the Kelowna big brawl in Kelowna happened a couple of years ago, and it was a big event. And he called him right away, peppering him with questions, or it's Memorial Cup questions, or questions that are, tougher questions. And he'll always give you an answer, and you have to appreciate that, even if deep down he doesn't really like you.
But I think his record speaks for himself. We were talking beforehand. I think I looked it up. He was 16 or 15 years in Medicine Hat as an assistant and head coach, one losing season. One. And that's hard to do when you have a junior hockey roster.
What he hasn't done yet as a head coach is win it all. And I guarantee you he's measured even talking about that. But if that were to happen, I think there'd be an outpouring of emotion then. There would be big emotion. Let's make a prediction. I always win the bets that we make. We know that. But let's make a prediction for the series.
Did Kelly Olnick play in the...
to go back and check the tape on that one.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my wings and my pint.
Series prediction.
It's going to be Kamloops in 6, and they're going to wrap it up in Spokane.
Yeah, I think it's actually going to be a sweep. I think the Blazers are going to sweep them. They're going to win. Those first 3 games at home are going to be pivotal. The Chiefs can't hang with them. Garan's going to be in net, and they're not going to be able to stop that first line, and they're so deep that I just think they get blown out of the water. Call me a homer reporter if you want. That's not the case. This is measured like Shaun Clouston prediction. Okay.
All right.
Let's make another prediction for this weekend. Kamloops Rugby Club.
Yes.
They're playing Mariloma.
Mariloma's a very famous team. They go back to, I think, the 1920s. Kamloops is going to win by 16 points.
Okay. I'll say Mariloma is gonna edge them. They're going to come up here and edge them by a couple points, and all the KRC people can get mad at me for that prediction, but it is what it is. Let's meet Casper from the Kamloops Rugby Club in our next segment, which is last week, this week.
Oh, this is supposed to be Tattle of Hastings.
Tattle of Hastings. Let's just talk to Casper. Before we talk rugby, let's talk about nicknames.
Yeah.
So your real name is Erin Connolly Reed Jensen. Pretty obnoxious, really.
Legally, Erin Jensen.
Erin
Facebook
Jensen?
is a different land.
Okay, but we call you Casper, so
Yes.
where did you get that nickname from?
Well, about 20 years ago, I made my first appearance at a really well-known rugby tournament, the Williams Lake Stampede Sevens. And let's just say I'm white as a ghost and I'm friendly. I like to talk to people. Hence, one morning, "What's up, Casper?"
And it just stuck.
And it just stuck.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the reason I ask you is because I played for KRC for a while, and
Yes.
some of the nicknames that we had, there was Teacup, Jughead, Twinkie, Chicken, Skinny, Dario Speedwagon, probably my
Yes.
favorite one right there. Lunchbox was another one,
Yes.
and Shrek. So what is it?
Well, Marty, you're forgetting one.
Yeah.
What is it?
Gut fakes.
That's right.
That was
That's
me.
our own Marty.
Because of my belly, and I still like
it's
to
gut
do my
fakes,
sidestep fakes, and my gut would go everywhere. So they called me gut fakes.
Yes.
Hey, it is what it is. That I love
We're a
that.
classy bunch.
Yeah, but I love that side of it. So why do you think rugby is such a nickname sport?
I think it's just part of the relationships you build with people. It becomes more like family in the sport of rugby. And I mean, you're around each other so much. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, Sunday is the, recovery day at the rugby club.
Yeah.
And you just get to know each other so well that nicknames become part of the culture. So,
Yeah. So does the club atmosphere and the
Yes.
vibe at the field. So tell us about this Saturday. What's going on at the club?
Yeah, so this Saturday, the women start their playoff campaign. So we earned home field advantage, which is huge, going into quarterfinals. So we're fourth. The team coming up to visit us is Marilomas from Kitsilano, and they're in fifth. And it's do or die, so win situation here needs to happen.
Anything, Chris?
No, just I like rugby because I'm a huge CFL fan, and we all know CFL comes from rugby. The roots of rugby gave birth to the Canadian Football League. But this is a game in which people play. It's pure love of the sport.
Yes.
You don't get paid,
No.
and you can get injured, and it affects your job. You're doing
100%.
it for the love of the game. If someone wanted, if there was a girl out there, or a guy out there, 13, 14, kind of nervous about going to play. My son played 1 year in grade 12, but he was very nervous to do it. What advice would you give them if they want to come and get into rugby?
Absolutely. The earlier you can start, the better. We have a great rookie rugby program, which basically has different levels for different ages. So you don't start right off the bat with contact, right? You start off with touch and getting familiar with the ball and, hitting bags and not people,
Right.
and you work your way up. So we have a great mini rugby program here for both boys and girls. And then we do now have a much more established junior program, so U14 through U18.
Good.
And then depending on what high school you go to, usually there is a team, not always.
Right.
But if there's not, the club junior program is great. But more importantly is to find a placement with that right coach. The coach who recognizes all the different skill levels and works their way up. Doesn't just say, oh, go hit this person, right?
yeah.
Our job as a coach and to get people safely into rugby is to teach them how to tackle, how to place your body safely to protect not just you, but
your
the
opponent.
player, your
Yes,
opponent.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what a good coach will do. Is
I think
teach
you
those
guys
safety
could teach some
measures.
football players how to properly tackle. too, because,
100%.
you got some of these guys in the NFL, they're getting fined because they're going in with their helmet and they're bitching about it. But if they learn how to tackle properly,
Yes.
you'd have a better tackle and you'd have less injuries.
I
But
think
anyway.
it's the Seahawks have been coached by a rugby coach for their tackling.
There
Yeah,
you-
they
and
were,
you notice
yeah.
it, eh?
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's an amazing YouTube video out there of a female rugby player taking down a football player in a tackle.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's smarter, yeah.
One of the great things, if not the greatest thing about club rugby is traveling and the
100%.
hosting and the songs,
Yes.
most of which we can't sing on this
No.
program or we get canceled or
Yes.
like some of the nicknames we probably can't say. How much did you miss that? Because it was gone for 2 years?
Almost 2 years, yeah. It's a huge part of our culture and in our identity and who we are. And I mean, I didn't know what to do with myself. It's been 20 years and I had free Tuesday, Thursday nights, free day Saturday. I had no clue what to do with myself. But we still had our chats. We still had the odd, socially distant friendly gathering. But overall, it was definitely missed. But the people that have been there a while, we're still there. So we can carry on the traditions of the songs, and we can carry on the traditions of, hanging out after the club, because there are still people there that knew how to do that. So once we got back into the groove, it's like no time at all had passed.
And you come back, you do enough to get a home playoff match
Yes.
this Saturday,
Yes.
1:30. Final thoughts on Mariloma and the game?
It's going to be a really good game. This half we're 1-1 with Marilomas. They will be coming to win. I really hope we kick their butts.
Ass is fine.
Yeah, perfect. I hope we kick their ass.
Okay.
That's the, knock on wood.
All right, come on out Saturday. There's a beer garden. Cheer on the
Exhibition
ladies.
Park.
Exhibition
Park.
Yeah.
And quick mention,
Yes.
Sundays, for anybody ever interested to get your kids involved in rugby, Sundays are mini rugby days. So we're about in the middle of it now, but feel free to come on out anytime and just give it a try if you have a kid who's interested.
What's the website they should find?
KamloopsRugby.com
There you go.
Yes, and on Facebook.
and on Facebook.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah, you bet.
Casper, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gut Fakes.
She could have a career in broadcasting. She's
Yeah.
very natural and very funny and very quick-witted.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a good time, go check that game out. It's not the only game in town this weekend, though. The Rattlers, the senior Rattlers, play Friday night to 7:30 Memorial Arena.
Yeah, I think it's the first significant event back in the arena because it was used as a homeless shelter since May of 2020 until March 31st of this year, right? So it's April 22nd will be the game. So it's less than a month after it was used as a homeless shelter. They had to fix up some stuff in there. There was a fire on the stairs, some damage, but it housed a lot of people who needed housing. Now it's going back to its intended use. And this league is interesting. It's a senior men's lacrosse league, and they for years they had a hard time. They had 1 year they had 2 teams and they played a 6-game series.
Embarrassing.
They're at 5 now, and they've expanded to Princeton, which is amazing.
Well, and the players. This is one good story, or one of the good stories that comes out of the pandemic. Is this team was basically ready to fold before the pandemic, and then all of a sudden after the pandemic, this massive numbers started showing up. They got 23 players who have already paid their commitment fee when they could barely get 9 players before. People are just excited to come out, socialize, play team sports. We'll see how long that lasts, if that is a long-term thing. But the captain and the coach, they're jacked up for the numbers they have.
And if you've never been out to watch a lacrosse game, which is our national summer sport, you should go out there. It's probably a couple bucks to get in. And
$5.
And watching the game at Memorial, in person is. If you've never seen lacrosse in person at this level, it's amazing.
You go to the Venom games in the middle of the summer when it's like 35 degrees in there. That's a special vibe.
It is. Yeah.
Herman, he can handle the heat at all times. He's a cool customer, and you should be his customer, especially tomorrow. Big sale going on at New Leaf Produce Market. We can't thank Herman enough. We can't thank McDonald's enough. We hope you stay on for another big, supersized contract. Final thoughts on the show?
Jam-packed. It was a little bit discombobulated, but good show.
Yeah, Magic Mike, he did a good job. He's can be many places at once, we found out today. Bonnie, thank you. Scott Finley in the Grand Ones. For Chris, I'm Marty, and we'll see you last week. I ended up getting diagnosed with guttate psoriasis, which I think was a bogus diagnosis. Guttate.
Guttate?
Guttate, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said gut move.
Gut fake psoriasis.